Stewart Copeland, our favourite rock icon drummer, who also happens to write film scores and operas, has a new book out called Have I Said Too Much?, which coincides with his speaking tour of the same name, which is presently taking place. And he is coming to Australia in January. This is the luxe version, or what we might call the Peasants edition, which features these pretty cool editions like Stewart's autograph and this CD of Copeland music, which I certainly hadn't heard before. I guess that's the point, given that it's called Artifacts from the Vault. Volume 1, I might add, indicating that maybe there's more to come. So this book sits somewhere between one of those cool band almanacs from back in the 80s with its gallery of band and Copeland photos throughout. And it's fun, yet it does have its own substance. It's apparently written by this guy called Johnny Morgan. There's very little information out there about this guy. There is a guy called Johnny Morgan who drummed in this band called Censor, and his narrative voice uses so many of Copeland's turns of phrase that, to me, he seems like more of a pseudonym than an independent author. I might be wrong. Copeland seems to have taken a sort of Richard Bachman kind of route here, writing under a pseudonym, at least that's what I think, loosely claiming that this guy was or is part of the inner circle at various junctures of the Copeland story. So that's what I assume, because Stewart's voice is very much present in the way this guy writes. It seems to be a way for Stewart to reflect upon his experiences in a voice which is less weighed down with what he might call his own avatar. The irony being that, if I'm right, he's evidently created one to tell the story. But it doesn't really matter, and it all does fit in with Copeland's historical dalliance with operating under an alias, Clark Kent, or Clerk Kent, to be more specific. It's all very playfully written, but there's a sharper edge of truthfulness than you might expect to find, and it feels less like a trotting out of the usual anecdotes and a bit more like a reflection on spy family Copeland and the insanity of fame. It is an easy read without feeling like fluff, and Copeland doesn't disappoint in his willingness to talk turkey. It's really interesting learning about some of his insecurities and grievances as a young artist trying to do well, particularly through his time with the police. For me, the real highlight of this book is Copeland's guide to musical celebrity titled The Complete Rock Star, which, beneath its archness, reveals some insight into his experience of the crazy, vertiginous experience of fame through the 1980s. And the stuff in here about his family history from what I call the Spy Family Copeland section is really interesting. And there's some really nice archival photographs in there of young Copeland and his family and growing up in the Middle East. The CD is pretty cool. It's basically a mini album or EP. I just wish they'd put the years of recording in for each track. I do like getting a sense of chronology, but there's some really nice stuff on here. And of course, what you can hear in the background is one of those tracks. This is a very limited edition release from Away With Media. I'll put a link in the video description. There's a grand total of just 1,000 copies, which includes all 3 editions. So it's a genuine collector's item. And the way it's been put together is pretty demonstrative of an understanding of Stewart Copeland's audience for whom this book exists. Obviously, I'm a fan, and I found it to be a rewarding read. And the archival music is lovely as well. The Copeland signature is very much the real thing, and it's going to come in very handy for my future extremely niche career in Copeland autograph forgery.